the Clippers, right? They have Kawhi and Paul George, and they cater around everything to him, right? And so the year that they lost in the bubble, there was a lot of like locker room issues, a lot of chemistry issues, right? And it was alleged that it was because like, Kawhi, Paul George, they just got there, but they were running the show. I mean, obviously they're star players, right? But to a point where they could cancel practice whenever they want to, cancel shoot around, show up late and all this other stuff, right? And really erode the culture. But then you hear about like some places like Miami where the culture is really strict, and it kind of drives away star players, right? Because they don't get the freedom to kind of do all the stuff that star players get to do. And I think you see this across like all sports, right? Like, where is that like fine balance you think for a team to kind of reach with their star players?
And Nestor, you want to start on that?
I'm just thinking about baseball, because like baseball, they have you play a lot, you play every game, but you don't really. It's not like basketball where you're not playing the full game. You hit a couple innings. If you're like, let's say if you're Mookie Betts, for example, one of our star players in the Dodgers, you play and then you sit down. And if like yesterday's game, for example, was like 22-1, you chill. You don't really play for the rest of the game. So I kind of see that perk, but at the same time, at least speaking just on the Dodgers, they're all going to be there no matter what. So it goes back to that mentality of the team. But think about like, Chris Paul and Harden when they were on the Rockets together. Remember that video where Harden was like, I forget what game it was, but it was a pretty big game, and Chris Paul was telling James Harden like, "Yo, like we need to do this," and he's just like, "Nah, I don't want to hear it," And so that like, and you think of successful duos like Kobe and Shaq, or Durant and Curry, those guys are like really just talking to one another, and it's this flow, right? So when it comes to that star mentality, I'm like, yeah, give them some leniency, but also like I expect you to show out. Like if it's 1 second left and we're down by 3, or we're down by 1, I expect you to make that shot. So I don't know. I mean, I have a hard time with it sometimes, but I mean, I like how Miami runs, because I what's his name? Is it Jimmy Butler? I think, with the fucked up beer. Yeah, that's right. That's him, right?
Yeah.
So I we can talk about that too. The fucked up haircuts and the beards, because Kevin knows how I feel about Trae Young. But anyways, I mean that's great, because I feel like wherever he ends up going, he has that discipline and drive. And I forget who was talking about this. I think it was on one of the shows I was watching. If you take Anthony Davis, for example, he was this big star. Went 7 years with the Pelicans, and I don't know if he was on another team before that, but he learned the ins and outs of the game, and it wasn't until he made a move that he actually got a championship. And it was because he learned all the things that he had going on, and he was a star, but then he talked about too, like, it comes with a lot of pressure where the fans hold you to this high tier, and it also like the moment you fuck up, it's like, well, fuck you, dude, and it's like, as a star, I totally understand. I don't understand what they're going through, but I'm like, damn, like that must be a hard situation to be in, because like one day they love you, one day they don't. Like, damn, that's a really toxic relationship to have. But I don't know. I mean, I just think if you're gonna be a star, know what that responsibility is. Kind of like that Spider-Man quote, right? Like with great power comes great responsibility. So.
Man, I feel for these athletes, because they're coming out 18, 19. Maybe the age is a little different now. It's like 21, right? You have to play like 2 years in college or something. You're coming out of
depends on the sport.
Yeah, you're coming out as a college athlete. Who knows if you have social skills or not? Who knows if you know how to be in front of cameras? I mean, even for us, right? Before we even got like some sort of chemistry, we were worried about how are we going to be on camera? How are we going to be on mic? Bouncing off ideas, just talking to one another. And some people have it, some people don't. An example is the San Francisco 49ers. They just got a new quarterback, and he's like 19, I think. And he's expected to take over the entire organization when the current quarterback is gone. And one of the main reasons they wanted to bring him on is just how well he reacts and responds to media and being in front of the camera and understanding the right things to say. Because the more dumb you sound, the more statements you make that don't apply to anything you're kind of talking about, it becomes a problem for the organization. And they always talk about distractions, like Dennis Rodman. ends up being a distraction for the Bulls. I don't know if you guys seen the documentary yet, but
Yeah.
But I was gonna say though, like that's the thing though, like you can't put that pressure on them. And I'm thinking too, like if you compare the sports itself, right? Like here, like, for example, NBA, you're not not NBA, NFL, you're not gonna have a star go out and say something that isn't against what the culture of the team is, right? NBA, on the other hand, there's been some sort of leniency, right, with what's been going on the last couple of years, right? When you had the whole the players not want to play when the whole the shooting happened and the whole court happened, right? The whole situation that arose, right? That was fine, and I think the commissioner approved that. And then you have MLB, where one of the players that I follow a lot is Trevor Bauer, is talking highly against the MLB, and what do you do in that? And he's been out there where he's like, oh, I'm gonna wear this patch so I don't get fined, So that fear of getting fined, how much of that is, I'm really always interested, like as a player, like I don't know how much the fine is, but if it's, let's say it's $5,000, let's say if I say curse words, or I don't want to talk to the media, does that take away from me as a player, or does that take away me as a person? Because these guys have a lot of not only social capital, but also just capital in general to do stuff and go out and you see a lot of these guys become stars, become big community people, have foundations and do things for the community, which is great. But at the same time, I always question about like how much are these guys like really saying that they want to say. Because there have been what's his face, Draymond Green has said, I really want to say what I feel, but at the same time, I don't want to get fined. So where is that line? And to your point, it's like, well, if I know that Morg is going to be my star player, but he's going to be Dennis Rodman and do all these extravagant things, do I really want him on my team? Like, where is that fine line of how much you're bringing to the table versus how many issues are going to cost? Because I could argue that the fact that you are being problematic, quote unquote, you're bringing relevance to my team. And so people are going to want to be more on my team.